Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Awesome. We're going to go ahead and get started. First, just wanted to say thank you so much for being here with us today and taking time out of your schedule to tune in. My name is Brittany Wynn. I'm with Make Off Your Career and Make Off Your Thing. And I'm pleased to welcome you to our session on Drive Your Future Careers in Golf. Today, you are going to hear more about the Make Off Your Career initiative. Sorry, let me switch slides. You're going to hear more about the Make Off Your Career initiative, a little bit about the job portal, and then most importantly, you're going to hear a little bit about a panel discussion from three of our esteemed colleagues who are working in the golf industry. They are going to share more about their journey into the golf world and give you some guidance as you take the next step in your career journey. So throughout the session, we encourage you to ask questions. If you would like to do so anonymously, you are more than welcome to. We have a Q&A function that should be at the bottom of your screen, and you're welcome to ask questions anonymously. We also encourage you to engage with our panelists and each other in the chat. It is working this time, I promise. So we do encourage some collaboration throughout. But before I introduce our first speaker, we do want to take a quick poll just to gauge where you are at in your work journey. Let me pull that up. So if you could select which best describes where you are at in your professional journey right now. And some responses in. Looks like some early in their career, some established professionals, and some looking for a career change. Give it a couple more seconds. All right. Awesome. You can see those results here. Thank you so much for those of you who participated. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Sandy Cross, Chief People Officer of PGA of America.
Thanks, Brittany. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, I should say. I'm in Central Time. But thanks for joining us. We're super excited for this time together, and we appreciate your interest in the golf industry. We on this call have been very fortunate and blessed to have some incredible careers in this industry, and we look forward to sharing some insights with you during our time together. As Brittany mentioned, I'm the Chief People Officer at the PGA of America, and I always like to share that when I started out at the PGA, I actually started out as a 90-day temporary employee. I had no golf background whatsoever, and fast forward 29 years later, I've been able to have a really impactful career in the golf industry. And I share that because I recognize that some of our audience today may not have a golf industry background. And that is absolutely fine. I think you'll learn today, as you hear from our different panelists, that there is a wide variety of jobs that you can avail yourselves of in this incredible industry. So just share that as a little bit of inspiration that golf industry background is not required for a lot of the roles. Some of the roles, yes, but not all. So focusing on Make Golf Your Career. Make Golf Your Career is an initiative that the golf industry leadership launched in 2023. And it was really an effort to create better awareness about the $102 billion a year golf industry and the fact that there are 2 million jobs in golf available in the United States on an annual basis. However, the golf industry leadership recognized that it was and continues to be daunting for a job seeker to navigate the golf industry landscape. The golf industry entities and the number of employers and associations doing business in golf are many and varied. So again, we recognize it can be daunting for a job seeker to navigate the landscape and do so efficiently. We also wanted to help golf industry employers get better at identifying and attracting a wide variety of talent from diverse backgrounds, all ages, all stages, all identities, and all abilities. So Make Golf Your Career was born to connect those employers and those job seekers, talented individuals such as yourself that desire and aspire to work in the golf industry. One of the main components of Make Golf Your Career is the job portal, which is found at makegolfyourcareer.org. And that is a place where the golf industry employers aggregate their jobs. And again, it's an effort and an attempt to make job seeking easier and more efficient for you. Currently, or on average, there's 2,000 golf industry job openings available on the job board. There's also a number of career services that are available, career planning services that are available through the site. That could be resume review, could be interview prep, things of that nature. But you'll see on the screen here, here's a list of companies in the last calendar year in 2024 that posted one or more jobs on makegolfyourcareer.org, just to give you a flavor of the types of employers, as well as on the right-hand side of the screen, the range of jobs posted. And, while these employers are representing the golf industry, they are companies like any other company in any other industry. They have all the jobs, if you will, in a wide variety of departments. Could be technology, could be marketing, digital, PR, philanthropy, championship operations, tournament operations. The roles are really many and varied. And the size of the companies and the size of the brands range greatly as well. So depending on what you're seeking and what your comfort level is, in terms of size of industry, scope and scale, and the type of role that you're looking for, I think you might be very successful in finding something through the Make Golf Your Career job portal. So with that, I'm going to shift us into panelist introductions. I'm super excited about our panelists today. I think you're going to enjoy meeting from them and hearing some insights. So we'll have a lively panel discussion, and then we'll segue into some Q&A. And we look forward to your questions. So first off, my first introduction for a panelist is Ninoska Zacconi with the LPGA. Ninoska currently serves as Director of Communications for the Ladies Professional Golf Association. After years of building global entertainment brands, Ninoska moved into the golf industry to merge her marketing and communication skills with her passion for purpose-driven work. She leads the LPGA, the group that's tasked at the LPGA with showcasing the power of golf to transform lives by raising awareness for the LPGA Foundation. Before joining the LPGA, Ninoska was Director of International Audience Development for the PGA Tour, where she formed a new division to grow the brand and diversify fans around the globe. So you'll hear more from Ninoska shortly. Next up in our panelist lineup, we've got Andrea Lattimore. She is an experienced professional in talent acquisition and community engagement. She is currently at the Acushnet Company. Acushnet, you may or may not know, represents Titleist and FootJoy as key brands. She serves as their talent acquisition programs and community engagement manager. Her previous roles included positions at Rich Products Corporation and Uniselect USA. Andrea's extensive background includes full cycle recruitment, development of hiring strategies, community engagement, and program management at several notable organizations, including Auto Plus Auto Parts, Group Ministries Incorporated, Edward Jones, and Boeing. Andrea, welcome. And then next up in our panelist lineup, we have Meg Toth-Starek, who serves as the Assistant Director of Talent Acquisition at the United States Golf Association. Meg joined the USGA in 2023. She leads talent initiatives and recruitment for internships and full-time openings at the USGA's campuses in New Jersey, North Carolina, as well as numerous championship sites where the USGA hosts their championships around the United States. Before joining the USGA, Meg worked in talent and human resources roles at the NBA, Spotify, and media agencies in New York City. Welcome, Meg. All right, so that's our panelist lineup. Let's get into it. So our first question we're going to kick off with is, for each of our panelists, please tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit more than I shared, and your career journey that led you to your role today. I think it's always very interesting for individuals to understand your pathway and how you found yourself in golf, and maybe whether or not you had a golf background at all. So Nanoska, I'll let you kick us off.
Yeah, thank you, Sandy. And hi, everybody. Really excited to be here today. Similar to Sandy, I would say I never imagined that I would end up with a career in golf, but I'm definitely glad that my professional experience and trajectory has kind of created this path for me. I would say, generally speaking, it's not been a straight and direct path. There's definitely always turns and opportunities that present themselves along the way. So as Sandy mentioned, I studied psychology at Vanderbilt University, went on to get an MBA in international business, and I had a career in media for nearly 20 years after having worked at companies like Warner, Discovery, and Univision. I had positions that basically taught me negotiation skills for content distribution, for driving audience growth, and then growing international businesses. And by chance, from a coworker that I used to work with at Univision, I learned about my first opportunity in golf. So it was definitely a career change, and one that I had been looking for because I just had a daughter and was interested in kind of moving closer to home where we could be close to family and near grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins. And as Sandy mentioned, I ended up working at the PGA Tour in my hometown, and it was a tremendous opportunity, a great experience. I spent about 4 years working there in an audience development role in a new department that was designed again to grow the fan base outside of the US. And I took a big giant leap of faith, and I didn't have that golf background. I didn't grow up playing golf, but I knew that the skill set and the experience that I brought, whether in marketing and international business, was definitely the right fit. And it's what the tour was looking for at the time to continue driving and growing their international business. And then I would say after about 4 years, I made my way to the ladies' side of the business. And I think, as Sandy mentioned at the beginning, the purpose-driven work and the opportunity that we had at the LPGA and to join at the time that I did, and to work on a foundation and in a communications role, which I didn't have as much experience back then, was really exciting for me to kind of step outside of that comfort zone, to be the group that was tasked with the storytelling for all of our programs, to drive the growth, grow the game initiatives, to get more girls and women playing the sport. So I've been here now for about 5 years. And I lead the team that's, we're the voice of the foundation. We're the lead storytellers for all the impact that the tour is making on a daily basis, with the hopes of getting more girls to understand the power of golf to transform lives and getting more people to play the game.
Awesome. Thank you. Andrea, how about you? What's your journey looked like?
Thank you, Sandy. I think Anna Noska and I, although we've not had this conversation, share a lot of commonality in that, and that I've worked in a number of industries, but never imagined that this would be my current destination, if you will. I did not play golf growing up. We had a few family members that played, but that was really distant from me. I had the luxury of working in a number of industries, gaining a lot of skill set around the people factor. I'm a people person, so it just made sense that this is my natural seat, if you will. Had the pleasure of working in both in the recruitment sector and the diversity development sector and university relations. And again, Anoska and I share a lot of commonalities. My former director, who's now my current director, Lori Herbert, tapped me in LinkedIn one day and said, "Hey, we have an interesting opportunity here at Acushnet. Let's chat." And now that's been 4 years ago that I've had the opportunity to sit in a newly formed seat to help to drive just what Make Off Your Career is designed for, to bring opportunity, exposure, access, and awareness to audiences who wouldn't normally consider the golf industry a place that they could drive to identify and drive their career in. I love when I get on a call and someone goes, "Oh, I'm an accountant. I don't think I could work in golf." I was like, well, someone has to count the money. Someone has to keep up with our requisitions and payments. Or, hey, I work in comms. Do you guys need any comms people? Or someone has to craft the messaging, tell the story. So I love when I'm able to bridge that gap for individuals. It's been kind of that multifaceted exposure that's really helped me to be successful in a sports arena where I hadn't played or had visibility or experience before. But I've had the pleasure of meeting great people like everyone on this call to really understand, one, the industry, but how we can work collectively to not only engage audiences who wouldn't normally look in our direction, but be very genuine about how we connect with them and provide that kind of aha moment to where they can use their skills and abilities. So it's been a great experience thus far, and hopeful that all those who are listening can kind of find their opportunity as well.
Andrea, I love that. And what you said about audiences that might normally not look in our direction. That's been one of the biggest challenges for the golf industry, is to attract the attention of individuals that don't come from a traditional golf background. So love that. Meg, how about you? What does your journey look like?
Yeah, thanks, Sandy. When I was finishing college, I probably had an experience similar to a lot of folks in that I really didn't know what I was going to do. I had a general business degree, had kind of just done the required classes, taken a few internships here and there, but really had no idea where my path would lead. And I met with a career counselor, and they were like, "Well, what's your dream job?" And I always said, I always loved like Diane Sawyer, how she interviewed people. Like that seems like a great job. And they kind of helped me unravel that maybe HR was a good avenue for me to look into. So I started working in HR, realized pretty quickly that I loved hiring people and interviewing people and having kind of exciting conversations around their passions and their background. And then I hated the kind of stickier parts of firing people. So I moved toward hiring. Fast forward a few years and found myself working at the NBA. I am not an athlete, really had no particular interest in the sports space. But once I was at the NBA, something just kind of clicked. The passion that folks bring with them to work in the sports industry really resonated with me and really made a great impact in my career. So fast forward a few more years, found myself working at the USGA, kind of stepped into the role by happenstance. Admittedly, have no personal connection or tie to golf before starting here. And in year 3, have grown my golf game just a bit. And I actually love to use that kind of piece and speaking with candidates and sharing, like, look, you don't have to have grown up playing golf to find your space here. To Andrea's point, like we hire accountants, we hire a lot of the other corporate functions that you find in any other space. We just do it in a golf friendly way. And one thing I love about working at the USGA, we occupy an interesting space in that we are a nonprofit and the governing body for the sport. So we do have that really sort of front facing, exciting side of the US Open and being broadcast on NBC Universal, but we also have a more mission driven focus too. And I think occupying that space has felt really right for me. So it's been a really great journey so far, and I'm glad to have had it led me to speak with all of you guys today too.
Yeah, Meg, thanks for that. One thing that keeps coming up that I imagine our audience is hearing is just this idea of purpose-driven work. And golf as an entity makes a $4 billion a year charitable impact in the United States alone. So it's really incredible. And as individuals think about their next career opportunity and finding purpose-driven work and the ability to be in a role that allows them to give back, even if they're working, as you said, like in the accounting department, for example, there's still really an opportunity for purpose-driven and mission-based work, which is great. So let's dig in a little bit more about each of your companies, the LPGA, Acushnet Company, and the USGA. Andre, I'll start with you. Can you share a little bit more about the Acushnet Company and also what you look for in interested candidates? Obviously, each role is different, but any key things that you're seeking as you look to attract and onboard talent?
Great question, Sandy. Thank you for letting me start off this segment. Most people, as just like I was first getting over, how do you say Acushnet properly? But Acushnet, we are the proud owners of the brands that most people know, including Titleist, FitJoy, So those are the most easily identifiable. We're an equipment manufacturing company, one of the leaders in the industry, but we're not here to talk about statistics and things like that. But we own the leadership space and do it from a very humble but proud perspective. In terms of where and how, what we look for, one of the first things is a desire for innovation. So not just to take the status quo as it is, which is one of the founding tenets of the organization, is how do we make it better? How do we advance it? As innovation would be one, and secondly, a natural curiosity. How do you make, not only how do you make it better, but let me ask some questions about it. Let me be really intentional. How can we kind of merge these two things together and working in a cooperative space? Because as we all know, we don't kind of work in our silo every day, that everyone kind of is connected in some way. So working cooperatively, I'd say that's on the soft skill side of things. But I say on the hard skill side of things, we're definitely looking for someone with familiarity. As we know, AI is becoming a part of everyone's work every day in some areas. So being familiar with it, and having a strong component, depending on what you do, as we said in the very beginning. If you're working, for example, on the sales side of the house, obviously a golf experience is ideal. But if you're working in a functional area, in business, in HR, in IT, having solid functional knowledge. Typically, in terms of hiring, we don't have as many opportunities for those who are new to their career, so those 0 to 3. But those folks who are in that 5-year kind of, they've gained some experience looking at how they use it, that would be an ideal sweet spot for us. The majority of our hiring will come through our ATS, which you can find at through Make Off Your Career. At any point, you can see any of our job opportunities posted there. And I think it's also important to look for geography. Although our headquarters is located in Fairhaven, Massachusetts, we do have opportunity across the U.S., again, depending on what you do. So we create balls in our operations in Fairhaven and clubs at our operations on the West Coast. So depending on if you have a preference, if you're a West Coast or East Coast kind of person, that will be a driving factor on kind of where you choose. But once you've had the opportunity to obviously become a part of the Acushnet Company itself, there are definitely opportunities across both locations. One thing I love about our organization is there's always opportunity to connect with other people easily. So if you want to have a coffee chat with someone, sending them a quick message to say, hey, I'd love to talk more about your area, what your department does, or for example, in our marketing area, if we have a new campaign going on, I'd love to know more. There's that is definitely encouraged, that really communal relationship building. That's one of the great things that I love to tell people about, that building that community is easy to do here, even if you're someone who doesn't work in the office on site every day.
Super interesting, Andrea. Thank you. Meg, tell us a little bit more about the USGA and your company, as well as what you're seeking in key candidates.
Yeah, so the USGA is a sports nonprofit. Our mission is to really celebrate, serve, and advance the game of golf. We also serve as a governing body for the sport. So in the same way that like the MLB sets rules for baseball, we set the rules for golf in partnership with the R&A, which kind of does so from an international perspective. They're based over in Scotland. We partner with them often. I mentioned a few times we are a nonprofit. We are very mission driven. And I think that tends to come through in the types of candidates that we attract to our roles too. You will often hear us saying that we do things for the good of the game. And that comes through in a lot of different ways. You know, I can give a very real example. In 2026, we were playing the US Open at Shinnecock Hills Golf Club in Southampton, New York. We know that just based on that location and size of that course, it tends to come with a whole lot of operational challenges, and it is a more expensive venue for us to play. But we do it because we think it's for the good of the game. You know, it's where players want to play. We think it contributes to the US Open being seen as the toughest test. We have 30 different departments for a team of around 350. So it's a lot of folks here doing very specific kind of niche things. You know, we have folks that work in our test center who actually have built out equipment that we use to test golf balls before they can be used in professional play. So collaboration is really kind of the name of the game here. You know, it takes a lot of different departments doing a lot of different things to make everything around the USGA happen. And it is really great to be working we're kind of in the middle of the suburbs in New Jersey, to then be on site at the Los Angeles Country Club and kind of see us build out like a mini Olympic village as we get ready for the US Open. So hopefully that's a little bit more context. To my earlier point, you know, we have tons of opportunities that do not require any level of golf experience. I'd say in my time here, maybe 30% require some golf experience or kind of IQ or previous experience in the industry. Around 70% require nothing like that. So certainly feel free to take a look at our job board posted on the Make Golf Your Career board. Our own career site, I think, does a great job of breaking down the level of community that we have here at the USGA too. We have a number of employee resource groups, which are great ways to meet folks beyond your immediate kind of day-to-day team and just get involved in the USGA.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Meg. Andrea, I may have missed it earlier. How many employees are at the Acushnet Company?
So total, both internationally, domestically, right under 10,000.
Okay,
But
thank
the
you.
majority of our staff, in terms of if we had to break it out, would be in our manufacturing facilities.
Okay, great. Love to give the audience a little bit of kind of scope and scale. So Nanoska, tell us more about the LPGA and also what you're seeking in prospective talent.
Wonderful. Yeah. So the Ladies Professional Golf Association is the world's longest running professional women's sports organization, founded in the 1950s by our 13 trailblazing women who dared to dream big. This year, we're excited because we've been celebrating our 75th anniversary, reflecting on their legacy of excellence and building opportunities that continue to inspire athletes, fans, and professionals around the world. At our core, our mission is to be the global leader in women's professional golf and to use our platform to inspire opportunities for women and girls to continue to have their lives transformed through the game, both on and off the golf course. In addition to running our premier global tour, we also have and operate our Epson tour, which paves the way for those ladies that want to make their way to the highest levels of the game. We have our joint venture with the Ladies European Tour as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we have our foundation, which leads all of the initiatives that provides the programming, scholarships, mentorship, and development for the next generation of girls in the game. Our organization is about 200 plus around the world. We do have a mix of staff that's based in our headquarters in Daytona, but we also have our road warriors and our tour media teams and our tournament operation teams that are constantly traveling week to week, following our players during our whole competitive season. And then we have offices in Asia as well and our support team over there. So there's opportunities all over. Similar to what Meg mentioned, we are mission driven. And while we're a small company, there are so many opportunities in terms of capabilities and career paths and departments similar to what Sandy showed at the beginning, whether it's in finance, legal, tournament, business affairs, partnerships, communications, or creative and marketing, like where I sit. So depending on your interest, I think there's definitely a wide array of possibilities. In addition, just to highlight, because I am kind of the foundation representative for the LPGA, as I mentioned, we love to tell the stories about how we transform lives through the game of golf. So we offer programs like our LPGA USGA Girls Golf Program, which has introduced over 1 million girls to the game of golf. And we're continuing to push to deliver the next million. We also have our leadership academies that build confidence and life skills for high school girls. And we have our LPGA Amateurs Association. That's our recreational arm of the LPGA that's all around fostering and building community around the world for those ladies who just love to play. And then obviously I'd be remiss not to mention our nearly 2,000 LPGA professionals who teach and grow the game every day. So we're not only about elite competition, but we are dedicated and committed to changing the face of golf. And as Sandy mentioned at the beginning, we're here to prove that golf is a sport for everybody, no matter what your background, no matter what your skill level. And we're just trying to get more people playing the game. So that's the positive impact that we're trying to lead every day at the LPGA. In terms of career opportunities, we offer a wide array of roles. As I mentioned, we have a business intelligence team, which to me, I think has the best name of departments in our business. I'd love to be able to put intelligence on any business card that I carry around. So they are the ones who make us sound smarter, who manage our entire data warehouse and try to see all the impact in terms of engagement and revenues and ratings and viewership and things that we're trying to deliver week to week. Again, trying to get more people to love the sport that we love so much. And then, as I mentioned, the various roles within the foundation and the brands that fall under our portfolio of business. Every position at the LPGA contributes to this greater purpose. So again, I think currently we have an opening within our partnerships team as a partnership solutions and design coordinator. And I know we also have our partnership with the USGA on the Pathways Internship Program. So there's always opportunities there in the summer for those people just wanting to get their foot in the door. But again, as has been stated, golf experience is a nice to have. It's not a requirement. And there's definitely opportunities to learn, and you have a lot of great mentors and colleagues to learn from. I think our culture, not only being founded by our 13 founders, we have an act like a founder mentality. We're always trying to leave the organization better than we found it, but we're always looking for driven individuals who are collaborative, who are inclusive, who are trying to make us better every single day, and who want to be a part of a team that's making an impact. So we value those that want to enrich our culture. And we encourage you, aside from looking and Make Golf Your Things, to just follow us on our LPGA careers page or follow us on LinkedIn to see if there's any new opportunities that might be interesting for you.
Awesome. Thank you. You mentioned the road warriors. Aside from the road warriors, your team members, your staff that are assigned to an office, do you have a hybrid policy, fully in office, et cetera? I'd love to hear that really briefly from each of the three of you, what your workplace policy is.
Yeah, so I think that depends on the role that you have, to be quite honest. We do have, I would say, a good quorum of folks that are based out of our Daytona office, primarily functions like legal roles, finance roles, some of the administrative roles. But I think communications and marketing, we're so hybrid because it just depends what events that we're covering. I think we try to be in the office 2 to 3 times per week if we are Florida based. But then, as I mentioned, if you're out covering tournaments or serving in a tour media capacity or operating our events or serving as rules officials, there is more flexibility for those types of positions to be based remote, because you're basically living on a golf course and in a plane every single week.
Thank you. Andrea, what about Acushnet? You mentioned Fairhaven, Mass, and then the West Coast. What do those office roles look like in terms of time in office?
To Ninoska's point, I think it really depends on what you do. Obviously, if you're working on the manufacturing side of the house, you have to be in the office every day. From a functional standpoint, the majority of our functional folks are in a hybrid situation. So in office 3 days a week and working remote the other 2. For our sales team, obviously they're fully remote because they're all over the country every day. And in addition to our fitters team, our fitting both ball and club as well. So it really is dependent upon your role. But some surprisingly will have a more remote element than others. Just like I will shamelessly plug, if you've not visited our website, please do so at employment.acushnet.com. Follow us on our social media handles as well. We do a great job there, just kind of highlighting roles, as we've all been saying that people wouldn't necessarily connect with our organizations. So, and there's a nice mix.
Awesome. Meg, what about USGA? What does it look like?
I'd say probably around 75% of our roles are campus-based. So we have campuses in Liberty Corner, New Jersey, and Pinehurst, North Carolina. The other 25% are primarily like in region. So we have some roles where their responsibility is to kind of grow the game of golf regionally. So they might be based kind of Southeast, Southwest, Central, the Chicago area, Northwest, you name it. And then we host our US Open at different championship sites every year. So those change, and we have operations teams that are kind of based in region. So they will essentially work in Monterey, California for 2 years, and then perhaps pick up and move to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So changes kind of as our locations change. So a little bit of everything, but primarily campus based on a hybrid work model. We spend 3 days per week in the office.
Great, thanks. One more question for each of our panelists, a little bit of a speed round before we move into Q&A. Knowing that we have a multi-generational audience with us today and people at different stages in their career journey, what is one valuable lesson that you've learned in your career that might kind of transcend your career, whether someone's, early stage, mid stage, or latter stage? Meg, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah. As I think back to kind of more pivotal moments of my career, there have certainly been bosses or mentors that have kind of seen something in me before I saw it myself. And my advice would be, when you kind of encounter folks like that or opportunities like that, believe them. Like, don't let kind of imposter syndrome or your own self-doubt hold you back. Odds are, if someone that you work with kind of trusts and sees something in you, like, it's there. So just kind of follow that instinct and continue that path.
Awesome. Nanoska, how about you?
Yeah, I love that. I would say a big lesson, and no matter what level of position I've had in my career, I think looking for gaps and finding voids that can be filled is really where true opportunities lie and where learning and growth come from. Early on in my career, I had a former boss who told me that she always hires to her weakness. And I've tried to build teams like that, not only because it kind of expands the capabilities of your team, but because it allows you all collectively to help drive the business forward and to continue to innovate. So I think if you do see some of those gaps, and especially coming from a place where I did that, I wasn't in the industry, I was an outsider, you just need to be sure and remember to always speak up, and don't be afraid to share that outside perspective or to share your ideas, because I think ultimately that you're solving a solution to a problem that the business might have, and it's going to drive the business forward. So I would say that's kind of one of my lessons.
Yeah, really well said. Andrea?
I think both Megan and Noska have kind of tipped into mine, if you will. I think it's important to honor your voice and what matters to you. I'm a firm believer that is what is for you will not pass you. So if you make your voice heard and you lean into those folks who kind of see that spark and hear that voice that you have, honor that commitment. Don't let that die, and stand firm in it, because whatever opportunity is meant to align both your passion, your skills, and experience, that door will open for you. It may not be on the time frame that you wish, but it will become available at some point to you. And that has happened to me on more than one occasion. So I believe it to be really true.
Love that. All right, let's jump into some Q&A. I am delighted to introduce my industry colleague and teammate on Make Golf Your Thing and Make Golf Your Career. She is the Chief Legal Officer and Executive Vice President of Social Responsibility at the PGA Tour. Neera Shetty, take it away.
Thanks so much, Sandy, and thank you, Nanoska, Meg, and Andrea. That was a fantastic discussion about some of the variety that you see both in backgrounds and opportunities that are available in the golf industry. So for those of you who are joining us, please feel free to add any questions you may have in the chat. This is our opportunity to kind of give you the chance to ask some of the questions that you might have about why you should join the golf industry, or what you might need to do in order to get a job in the in the golf industry. So with that, I'm gonna just turn to the Q&A and start asking some great questions that have been raised. So the first one is for Meg, actually. So this person says, I'm a recent May 2025 college graduate and currently completing a fellowship with the Carolinas at PGA. I really related to Meg's story about graduating with a general business degree and not being completely sure where her path would lead. My question is, how did she set herself up for success in entry-level positions, whether through networking, learning more about herself, or exploring career opportunities in the golf industry?
That's a great question, and congratulations on your graduation, question asker. I think as I think back to that time in my career, I really tried to focus on just being curious. When you're coming into a new space, folks know that you kind of have just graduated. And I think just not being shy to kind of go up to someone and say, hey, like, I would love to hear about what you do in benefits, even though it might not have been my particular area of interest. Approaching things with kind of that natural curiosity is how you network, how you build your own community, and kind of how you really focus on building your career. So that would be kind of my number one tip that I always share with new grads. Really just kind of remain open and curious. Say yes to opportunities that present themselves to you, even if they may not feel super exciting in the moment. You never really know what they'll lead to.
I love that. I mean, that is one of the things that I know that we've talked about, is being open to those opportunities and not necessarily, it's great to have a path that you want to be on and you should absolutely follow it, but don't exclude those opportunities that might randomly present themselves you never know where you might end up, including at the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
So that's great. Thank you. All right, we have another great question. For someone with a strong sales background who's eager to build a career in the golf industry, what advice would you give for breaking in and standing out when pursuing sales roles with organizations like yours? Anybody want to start with that, since you all have sales roles within your organizations?
Well, Nira, I'll take the first stab if there's no objection. I thank you to the question asker. I think it's that you've made it very clear that you coming into our industry is where you want to be. I think first looking at your LinkedIn network is important, just to see who's connected to what organization in your network, and don't be afraid to make a request to connect with someone you don't know. To Nira's point, really building that network comes from your curiosity. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you have specific questions about a specific role. But I think starting with just looking at your own network of individuals and asking the question, because people love the opportunity to talk about who they know, what they do. I think that's a great place to plant the seed to get things started. But question asker, find me and just let me know that you've asked the question. I'd love to talk more.
Nira, one thing I would add as well, a number of our organizations, such as the PGA of America, PGA Tour, LPGA, USGA as some relevant examples, we all have tournaments and championships that we're hosting around the country, if not around the globe. There are always there's always inventory that needs to be sold. It could be hospitality, it could be tickets, could be merchandise. So oftentimes, a way to get your foot in the door on the sales side in the golf industry might be through a local tournament or championship event before making your way onto kind of the corporate office sales team, if that makes sense. So just keep an eye on those local tournament opportunities, because you might find some sales things there that are interesting and allow you to showcase your skills.
That is such a great point, and it actually dovetails nicely with the second question that this asker had posted in the chat. And that was, what is the single most important thing someone can do to successfully land a sales role in the golf industry today? So following along on Sandy's point, Ninoska, Meg, Andrea, any additional thoughts on that particular part of the question?
I think as I mentioned in my lessons, it's just bringing your ideas and bringing your contacts to the forefront and showing the value that you could bring. I mean, golf is all about building the networks and building community. So it doesn't have to be so niche or so narrow to a specific category, but even thinking about it in terms of a foundation, bringing a new potential donor to help us expand a program. There's so many different entry points where somebody could just offer a relationship that they have that could open a lot of doors for future business, for driving growth in the future, and transitioning from, a sales role within the foundation into a sales role into the bigger tour moving forward.
I can also add a very kind of specific example as it relates to sales too. We recently just filled an account executive role on our hospitality team. And if we think about sales, so much of that world is relationship building, right? So it was very telling when kind of certain candidates would send thank you notes, kind of recalling specific details of our conversations versus the candidates that wouldn't. And when we think about a role that has so much importance on relationship building and kind of establishing relationships, that really set certain candidates apart. So I would kind of advise this person to keep that in mind too.
I may, one other thing to bring to mind is one way to make entry into to the sales organization at Acushnet is not to minimize the importance of our customer service team. Just for reference, our CEO started out on a customer service team. So that provides you great perspective on the organization, how we do business, how we engage with our consumer. So definitely don't minimize the importance of entry-level opportunities that can open that door as well. And again, I think we've all said it, building the relationships is what's going to drive the path forward for you.
This is great. And we have a number of great questions in the chat. I am going to, because I see we're towards the end of our time, I'm going to make sure that we respond to each of those individuals in the chat to make sure that your questions are answered. And as you know, all of the speakers have talked about, you should feel free to reach out to any one of us on LinkedIn if you want to have a specific question regarding a job at their particular companies or about the golf industry in general. And that really is what we had hoped makegolfyourcareer.org. That's the website where I think most of you have joined and have joined this webinar. It is really about, yes, you can go individually to any one of our websites, our company websites, and find out more information. But makegolfyourcareer.org is the opportunity where we aggregate all of those different jobs. So if one job may not, from a geographic or from just a position perspective, fit you, there might be something comparable at another organization that you can find on makegolfyourcareer.org. I would also say, as Sandy mentioned at the beginning, there's lots of other tools available there to build your resume, interview tips, coaching. So you should feel free to take advantage of that. And this is all, again, free. You can upload your resume as well and view all the various jobs that are there. And I would also encourage you to, talk to your friends, your colleagues who might be interested in a job in the golf industry or may have never thought about it, but just give them an opportunity to kind of see the opportunities that are out there that might jog somebody's interest and create a connection, the connections that all of the speakers have been talking about that may lead to something really successful. So, really encourage you to engage with the website. And also we will be sending out further webinars in the future of this nature, talking to different people in the golf industry. So after this, you are going to receive a survey. And we would really like for your feedback on how we can make these types of webinars really powerful and interesting to each one of you, what we might be able to talk about in the future. And we will follow up with an email to each of you with our speakers' LinkedIn channels. So with that, I just want to thank everyone who has participated, particularly Ninoska, Sandy, Meg, and Andrea for participating today. And we look forward to seeing all of you at our next webinar. Thank you so much.
Everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great day.